The Fourstardave Late Pick 5 comprises races 8 through 12 on Saturday's card at Saratoga, and hopefully we'll have a little more luck than we did with last week's Late Pick 5. The weather will cooperate. Really it was awful tough to see that go down, and particularly, all those people who had two-day Pick 5 tickets for the Turf Pick 5. Really disappointing, to say the least. I don't know how much we can blame Naira for that, but maybe even just planning it out in advance, maybe should have anticipated there might be some weather. Anyway, let's talk about the future and not the past. Leg 1 is the 8th race. It's the Saratoga Special. It's a Grade 2, run at 6.5 furlongs for 2-year-olds. And that extra half furlong does make quite a bit of difference with 2-year-old races for sure. Now, you can look at the field here and you'll see it's dominated by early runners, and that's no surprise. Most of these are coming out of a maiden win first time out or a second start. Really haven't developed a running style per se yet, so this is all just on talent for the most part. Of the early runners, I like Touchy. Touchy debuted in the Tremont Stakes for Wesley Ward. I think that speaks volumes as to his expectations and what he thought of this horse. For his first time start, he damn near won it. Couldn't quite hold off Studley Do Right, but really displayed some nice grit and determination for the first start. Was up near on the lead, will probably be so here. He's a big colt. Really noticed the size difference was pretty considerable. So I think Touchy, there's going to be a lot of pace in this race, but if anybody's going to withstand it, I think he can, and he would be my pick to win this race. The other horses who are front runners, most of them are coming from inferior class races and where they won very easily. I never like sending a horse into a stakes race after they won that easily, because obviously the talent has improved and they're going to be tested for the first time. So a lot of them wilt once they really have to face good competition. Of the other ones, Global Legend for Mark Casse, kind of hard to leave off. With Dylan Davis and the Irons. Dylan Davis is having an excellent Saratoga meet, and so is Mark Casse. He did state that he made it a point to have his horses ready. He brought them up to Saratoga early for training, and Global Legend looks pretty good. I thought that was an impressive maiden win. The only thing is you are stepping up in class, of course, and going to have a lot more company on the front end, as is the case with many of these, but those connections, just can't say no to them right now. So Global Legend, I think, is one that is likely to improve in this second start. So we'll keep Global Legend in the mix. Now, of the horses running off the pace, Showcase is a pretty logical one. It's a Todd Pletcher, won his first time start, rating off the pace, and did so very professionally, as Todd Pletcher first-timers do. He was geared down in the stretch, so he didn't face a whole lot and won with ease. So this horse has some talent, being trained by Pletcher and Rapoli Stables. I ran in the mix. All logical. I just wasn't that wowed by the race, to be honest. I just really wasn't. He won the race, and he did so with ease. But I don't know. I didn't see that X factor I like to see in 2-year-olds in particular. However, being off the pace will help in this scenario, particularly at 6.5 furlongs. And so I think Showcase is one you logically have to keep in the mix. Now, Smokin' Wicked, to me, is very interesting. This horse, in his last race, couldn't get to Politically Correct, who had a better closing kick, was a little more forwardly placed. But Smokin' Wicked, while breaking very sharply, encountered some trouble on the backstretch. And had to check, but re-rallied and was able to display a really strong closing kick in the stretch. Now, that's positive to me for a couple reasons. Number one, overcoming adversity early on for a 2-year-old is a really good sign that a horse is pretty good. And secondly, persistence and resilience, and able to just, get past it and then keep up with a really nice closing kick. I think if that horse, if Smokin' Wicked can build off of that, he's got a really good chance of taking this one down, considering the fact you have so much early speed, and a lot of times these races will be run coming from off the pace, specifically for the fact it's so early in the 2-year-old's career And most of them only know what to do one thing, and that's just gun it right from the gate. So I think you're going to get some pretty good odds on Smoking Wicked, being a Louisiana bred, trained by Dallas Stewart. We know he's not shy about throwing horses in, but I think this one really has a pretty good shot. And so if you're looking for an overlay, I think Smoking Wicked fits the bill. But Touchy is my pick to take this one down. The second leg is the ninth race. It's the Troy Stakes, a Grade 2 run at 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. And this is one of the races that they moved from last week's Whitney Pick 5. So if you want to take a look back at my posting and get a little more in depth about a couple of these, then have at it. That might give you a little more insight, so I'll just throw that out there. This is a race that's devoid of early pace. As you can see, Dancing Buck is really the only one confirmed who will be going to the front end. COgburn certainly is the horse to beat, without a doubt. I mean, the Jaipur last time was just a phenomenal race. I mean, 5 furlongs in under, 5.5 rather, in under a minute is pretty damn good, and I believe that's a world record. So this is an awesome, awesome horse. He's very consistent. Steve Asherson is notorious for keeping horses in good form for extended periods of time. However, much like Didier in the Diana, where her race prior to that, she just ran just a really big race. It was logical to expect a regression, and I think we've got that same type of case here. If you're going to beat COgburn, I think this is the time to do it. Does he have to run back to that race that he ran in the Jaipur? No, he could run his race and be competitive here. But I'm just thinking that's going to take a little bit out of him. Every horse has one of those races where they just run lights out, really huge, and it just takes something out of them. And I think this is a case of that. I'm going to go with Groom's All Business. I really liked the Get Serious last time, and that's come back to be a good race because Super Quest came back in his next start, which was a very nice race. The name of it escapes me. I believe it was on the 28th. And you had some really good horses in that. No Balls, most notably. Go back and take a look at it. But Groom's All Business, he just ran a super race last time. And this is a horse at 5 years old really seems to have come into his own. He runs comparable speed figures, and I just think he's in really good form. And you're likely to get a price on him. And I really like him to upset the apple cart if anybody's going to do it. The lack of early pace, to me, says that horses who are up near it are the ones that you're going to be wanting to zero in on. And I think Groom's All Business represents the best of the group. Now, So Sue is Summer, I can go either way with, I'll be honest. This is a horse for the course without a doubt, and Bill Mott trains. But his last couple efforts have really been subpar. With his last race, he was up near COgburn early on the engine and then just faded right back as if a horse, he just didn't belong there. But he is a horse for the course, and his work tab says that he is training very well coming into this race, and it's Bill Mott on a big stakes day, awful hard to leave off. You're definitely going to get a price here, and it's not often you get Bill Mott with a price. So let's throw So Sue is Some in there in this scenario as one who could potentially upset the apple cart. Excuse me. Now, Outlaw Kid is another one coming from off the pace a little bit more than the others, and so tactically maybe not quite as good a outlook as some of the others who will be closer to the lead. But this one last time beat Big Invasion in an optional claimer, and it's awful hard to go against Flavian Pratt right now. He's just lights out in every stakes race. 15-1 was the morning line for the Troy last week. I'll assume it'll be something similar to that. And for value, I think Outlaw Kid makes a lot of sense here, and he's one I would include as well. Now, you notice that Mischief Magic scratched out of this race, and I really didn't like him in it anyway. I just think he was breaking slower and slower each race and running the same race, essentially, except for the break. And just leaving himself too much to do, not enough late. So I really didn't like him here. Big Invasion is a horse that certainly would make sense here. But what's the thing with Big Invasion? He finds trouble every single race. He's his own worst enemy, and as we know, horses who find trouble tend to always find trouble. Could he win this race with a good trip? Sure, he can, but I'm not banking on it because there's too many times. He's just a chalk burner. Outlaw Kid beat him in the optional claimer last time, and that was a race that Big Invasion frankly should have won. So to me, he's a major league underlay, and I really don't want any part of him. So we've got a nice sprinkling of some value to try to beat COgburn, and again, I think this is the time to do it. Step Forward is moving into this race, who was not in the original Troy Stakes. Now, his last race, he just broke awful, and he basically missed the break. He was way out of contention in the last race on the 28th, the same one that Superquest came back to win, and No Balls was in. It was a really good field, but he did close with interest. And Mark Cassie's barn has been doing really well this meet. And one, if you want to, as an outside chance, if he can break better, I think he'd have to run basically a peak effort, which I'm not overly certain is in the mix, but one to maybe on the outside think about, probably more so for the bottom of your exotics, and I think he'll come in under the radar given that last performance. But Step Forward is one that, if you can expand in this race as potential upset candidates against COgburn, maybe he's one you want to think about. But right now, I'm going with Groom's All Business, and we'll use Sosua Summer and Outlaw Kid, and of course COgburn as ones that potentially upset the apple cart, because I think, as I said, this is the time when you want to try to beat him. Leg 3 is the 10th race. It's the Fourstardave. This is the featured race of the day. It's running a mile on the inner turf for 3-year-olds and up. And we take a look at this field, and it's pretty form-fitting, actually. Strong quality should likely be the speed of the speed. I don't see any way he won't be. But this horse just hasn't factored in Grade 1 stakes races every time they moved him up. And I don't expect there'll be much difference here. He'll likely be the one to point to. They'll all be looking at, but I don't expect him to be there late. Major Dude is... I've never really been the biggest fan of this horse. When his toughest challenges, I don't know that he's really responded. He did a lot at 3. Now he's at 4, and he's running 2 straight optional claimers, and that gives me a little bit of pause. Would have liked to have seen him in a stakes race in his second start, so I do wonder about it. That last race he did he closed convincingly, but it really wasn't any different than the optional claimer he had run in before. So I didn't see that progression that you want to see, particularly at 4 years old, where he's moving forward. That was a halfway decent field, but it wasn't a Grade 1 field or anything close to it, in my opinion. Took advantage of the rail, saved a lot of ground, and certainly had a lot late. It's hard to go against Johnny Velasquez and Todd Pletcher here, but I think, as we know, there's a couple in here that I think are more proven at the Grade 1 level, particularly against older horses. So I'm going to pass on Major Dude. Carl Spackler is a horse for the course. We know this. He loves Saratoga and he loves the mile. So those two things certainly make him a competitor here. What concerns me is you look at the 3 horses who are going to be just off of strong quality. Major Dude, Carl Spackler, and Ottoman Fleet. And I almost think that the 3 of them are going to cancel each other out because they're all very similar. They're similar in some ways. I mean, I certainly think of the 3, Ottoman Fleet is more proven class-wise, but Carl Spackler certainly has good potential, and the fact that he loves Saratoga should certainly elevate him. So, of the early runners, I think certainly he's one to consider, but there are a couple others that we'll get to in a second that I like a little bit more. Ottoman Fleet has the back class to demonstrate that he is certainly a Grade 1 level horse. He has steadily improved class-wise in every race, so this is a horse moving forward in the right direction. And if anybody's going to beat Master of the Seas, I kind of like Ottoman Fleet a little bit more than Carl Spackler. He seems to have a little bit better top end. But to me, the two of them sort of cancel each other out, as I mentioned. And so I think he's a worthy alternative. But to me, Master of the Seas, I mean, it's just really hard to go against him. He's just proven himself time and again. He is coming off the bench, hasn't run since April, but he has proven that that isn't an issue for him. And this is a grade 1, so I have to believe that Charlie Appleby will have him revved up and ready to roll. Flavian Pratt in the irons, who's been lights out in stakes races at the Spa. I find it very hard to go against Master of the Seas here, and I will likely single him in the sequence. More Than Looks, the question mark is, has he moved forward from 3 to 4? Now, reports are that he's looking awful good. He's certainly training very well. And, if Master of the Seas falters, then More Than Looks certainly would be one to consider. This is really just a case of, to me, with More Than Looks, he hasn't proven himself yet against older. And at this class level is the concern I have more than anything else. This is a good horse. This is a horse that could very well leap forward after this race. It's entirely possible. But Master of the Seas, to me, looks like he's just got an edge over the rest of this field, particularly since there'll be a good pace scenario. So it's his race to lose, and I will be singling him in the sequence. Leg 4 is the 11th race. It's a starter allowance for 16,000, run at 6 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up. And this is a race that's dominated by early speed. Not a lot of surprise here. Interestingly enough, their print rack is one that certainly has a track record coming into this and good back class. But a couple of things I noticed about the early runners. Number one, Poppy's Pride. He's coming out of a 50,000 claimer. They've been stepping this horse up steadily, but he hasn't really responded to it. And so I don't think his form is terribly good, but he should be an early pace presence. Downtown Charlie Brown is one that I like in this race, mainly because given the early speed in this race, he has a track record of running really fast fractions and being there at the end and succeeding. And I think if the pace does get a little hot, which is more than likely in this race, I think Downtown Charlie Brown is one that can withstand it and has the type of form that I think puts him in the good mix. He's coming off a career high, and he looks really good to me. Print rack, the thing I noticed about him is that when the pace does get hot, that's where he doesn't fare very well. He tends to have, when he has moderate fractions, that's when he can control things on the front end and dominate. And I don't really think he's going to be able to do that, particularly being on the outside with speed to his inside. So in that respect, I think Downtown Charlie Brown, this is a really good scenario for him. Dot's Dollar is, it's awful tempting with Flavian Pratt aboard, but his form just wasn't very good in the last race at all. Now, he does have a track record of rebounding from poor efforts to run better. But it does, in this case, I think he's going to be up against it. And that last race really just didn't look very good at all. And so I think that there's others that are better in here. MB's Munning, the thing I like about him is that he is a 4-year-old and coming in second off the layoff and ran a pretty good race in his last. And this is a bit of class relief. And so I think MB's Munning makes a lot of sense in here as well. Got Thunder ran a nice race last time. I got a good second. And he's in good form. And if there is a bit of pace on the front end, I think he can benefit from it. So he would make a lot of sense in here as well. Now, the wild card in this race to me is Banyan Breeze. And one of the angles, those of you who followed my postings, one of the angles that I love is synthetic to dirt. Because horses who run on synthetic prior to getting on dirt, it's like a tightener. It really gets them fit to run next on dirt. The fact that Irad Ortiz is on this horse has to tell me something. And I think this horse, class wise, is not a little bit of a disadvantage. This is a bit of a step up for him. But moving from synthetic to dirt, I think is a good scenario for this one, particularly given the fact that there's going to be, I think, some pace in this race from some horses who are pretty vulnerable, most notably Print Track to me. So if we want to look for value, perhaps to upset the apple cart, just stay off, let the front runners bang heads, and then benefit while being just off of them. Banyan Breeze might be a horse who can do that. So because Downtown Charlie Brown is good at withstanding aggressive pace and can run well in spite of it, I like him in this spot. But this is certainly a spread race. There's a lot of vulnerability in here. But I think we want to go against Print Rack, who I'm going to guess will likely be the favorite or second choice. So let's take Downtown Charlie Brown in a definite spread race. Leg 5 and the final leg of the Fourstardave Pick 5 is the 12th race. It's the Gallway Stakes. It's ungraded at 150,000, run at 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. And really, to be honest, this is a short discussion. Star of Mystery. This horse was third in the Jaipur, that runaway race that COgburn had, and followed it up with a win. This horse is running against older horses and being competitive. Won the last race seemingly for fun in a pretty good field. This is a really nice horse. Charlie Appleby, Flavian Pratt. I don't see any 3-year-old in this race that really can give Star of Mystery much of a bother. She's far and away higher speed figure wise. There's enough early pace in here that she'll have something to run to. There's just a couple others that look that look pretty good. I mean, if something happens, a bolt of lightning or something happens where Star of Mystery doesn't run, but Beret in particular, looks pretty good as a front runner, on the make, on the come, improving steadily. Should be the speed of the speed. And, can always in these turf sprints take him wire to wire. Pipsy ran in a mile last time and was very keen on the early on, but faded late. This horse is certainly going to appreciate the cutback in distance. Love the route to sprint angle. This one clearly has some talent. And I think 5.5 furlongs, this one could be pretty dangerous in here. Is going to have a peak effort to beat Star of Mystery. But again, I think this is one that's looking pretty good and should be very competitive in this spot. And then finally, Kyryu, I suppose is how you pronounce it. It's a late runner, had a pretty good effort last time. I think they're going to need to really kick it into high gear to get by Star of Mystery. But those are just ones to think about. Star of Mystery is, to me, the best bet of the day. I can't see her losing this race. So we take a look at our ticket, and because we've got 2 singles here, we're able to spread in the other 3. So in leg 1, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 5. Leg 2, 2, 6, 9, and 10. And then we're going to single in the Fourstardave, the 2. And then we're going to go in leg 4, 2, 3, 5, and 7. And then finally Star of Mystery in the Gallway in leg 5. So that's 4 times 4 times 4. That's a $64 ticket on a $1 base. Nice economical ticket with 2 really short-priced horses that are likely to take it down. Master of the Seas and the Fourstardave, I think, is a really good bet. So I think we've got a shot at some value in the other 3 legs. In particular, I think the 11th race, leg 4, with being able to discount Print Rack, who will likely be the favorite, I think we've got a really good chance to come out on top there. And then in the Troy Stakes, trying to go and beat COgburn, I think it's the time to do it, and we're going to try to do so. But COgburn could come back and not be as sharp as he was in the Jaipur and still win it. But that's the chance we're going to take. it's nice that we have two more firm singles in the other one, so we can keep the ticket price economical, because it's probably going to be a little chalky with a couple of those really short price favorites. But I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, of course, and we'll wish you the best of luck as always. Stay on the lookout. We'll continue to have daily stakes plays from Saratoga, and we're going to try to get some Del Mar involved as well. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.